War is often described as pure destruction, suffering, and chaos, yet beneath the smoke and shattered steel lies a quieter and more uncomfortable truth. War is also a business, governed by budgets, contracts, and cost efficiency, and nowhere is this clearer than in the world of armored warfare. In this ranking, the world's most powerful armored vehicles are not judged by how thick their armor plates are or how intimidating their cannons look, but purely by cost, because price reveals a nation's doctrine more honestly than propaganda ever could. From $500,000 relics pulled from forgotten storage depots to $30 million armored behemoths engineered to dominate hypothetical future battlefields, this list traces the full economic ladder of modern tank warfare. At the absolute bottom sits the Leopard 1A5, often referred to as the sniper, the cheapest tank still seeing real relevance today. Its armor is dangerously thin by modern standards and can be penetrated by contemporary autocannons with ease, but it compensates with a highly accurate gun and surprisingly capable optics that allow it to engage targets at distance. With resale values hovering around $500,000, thousands of these tanks have been dragged back into service, particularly as the war in Ukraine has demonstrated that affordability alone can resurrect machines once written off as obsolete. Slightly higher on the cost scale is Russia's T-72B3M, nicknamed the Swarm, a vehicle that perfectly represents a doctrine built on numbers rather than survivability. This design takes an aging Cold War T-72 hull and stuffs it with a powerful 1,130 horsepower engine, modernized fire control systems, and upgraded thermal optics, producing a machine that costs roughly $1 million per upgrade. More than 2,000 were produced, not to dominate opponents individually, but to overwhelm them through sheer numerical saturation. Following this comes the T-80 BVM, known as the Turbine or the Arctic Fighter, a tank designed specifically for extreme cold environments. Its gas turbine engine, similar in concept to that used in the Abrams, allows instant starts in freezing temperatures where diesel engines struggle or fail entirely. At approximately $1.5 million per modernization, over 500 hulls were upgraded, turning cold weather into a tactical advantage. China's Type 96B appears next as the backbone of its armored forces, lighter and faster than its heavier siblings and optimized for rapid maneuver warfare and mass production. Designed specifically for tank competitions and high-speed operations, it costs around $1.5 million, with more than 2,500 units built, embodying industrial-scale armored doctrine. Argentina's TAM-2C follows as the Pampas Hunter, a medium tank based on a German infantry fighting vehicle chassis rather than a traditional tank platform. Designed to operate on soft soil and wide terrain, it prioritizes speed and mobility over heavy protection, with an upgrade cost of roughly $1.5 million covering just 74 vehicles. Moving into the $2 million range brings China's Type 15, known as the Climber, a dedicated light tank engineered for high-altitude warfare in thin mountain air where heavy tanks become liabilities. Armed with a 105mm gun and exceptional mobility, it costs around $2 million and fills a niche that traditional main battle tanks simply cannot. Poland's PT-91, often called the Hard One, follows as a heavily re-engineered T-72 featuring domestic reactive armor layered tightly across the hull like scales, offering improved survivability at a cost of roughly $2 million with around 230 units produced. Iran's Zulfikar 3 enters next as the Imitator, a domestically produced design that visually echoes the American M1 Abrams with a boxy turret and low profile, estimated at $2 million with very limited production. North Korea's M2020 follows as the Parade Star, a vehicle designed more for intimidation and political messaging than battlefield effectiveness, appearing modern with side-mounted missiles but likely lacking advanced sensors or fire control systems, valued around $2 million with only a handful of prototypes ever seen. Rising slightly in price is the BMPT Terminator, the Suppressor, a specialized support vehicle armed with dual 30mm autocannons and missiles designed solely to destroy infantry threats in dense urban environments to protect tanks, costing approximately $2.5 million with around 300 units built. Crossing into the $3 million range introduces experimental hybrids like the M60-2000, nicknamed the Frankenstein, a cost-saving attempt to mount an Abrams turret onto an aging M60 hull that failed to attract buyers and resulted in only a single prototype. Italy's C1R8 AMV follows as the Ram, a domestic tank receiving a massive upgrade including a new 1,500 horsepower engine to improve mobility, with the modernization costing roughly $3 million per unit across about 200 vehicles. China's Type 99A appears next as the Dragon, its apex predator, blending low-profile Eastern design with Western-style turret armor and featuring systems like laser dazzlers intended to disrupt enemy optics, estimated at $3 million with around 1,200 units in service. Iran's Karar enters as the copycat, resembling a Russian T-90MS but relying on Iranian electronics and a newly welded turret, also estimated at around $3 million with unclear production numbers. At $3.5 million comes the Leopard 2A4 Evolution, the Survivor, a massive modular armor upgrade package designed to extend the life of older hulls by adding thick composite blocks to vulnerable areas, particularly the turret cheeks. Moving into the $4 million tier brings the M1A1SA, the Veteran, a modernized Desert Storm warrior equipped with digital tracking systems that allow crews to see friendly forces in real time, costing approximately $4 million per refurbishment with thousands still active. Russia responds with the T-90M Proryev, the Breakthrough, its most refined operational tank, correcting earlier weaknesses with advanced reactive armor and panoramic commander sights, costing roughly $4.5 million with limited numbers deployed. Its export counterpart, the T-90MS, maintains similar pricing while offering climate-specific features like air conditioning for desert environments. Israel's Merkava Mk4M, the Windbreaker, also occupies this tier, notable for being the first tank to successfully employ an active protection system in combat, intercepting incoming rockets and prioritizing crew survival, valued around $4.5 million with several hundred in service. Russia's most ambitious experiment, the T-14 Armata, known as the Ghost, sits uncomfortably here as well, its unmanned turret and advanced sensors driving costs high enough to cripple mass production, leaving only a few dozen units in existence. Entering the $5 million range brings rare and almost mythical machines, including the Black Eagle, a secretive 1990s project with a stretched hull and Western-style turret bustle that vanished after two prototypes, China's VT-4 export tank designed for foreign buyers, Ukraine's T-84 Oplot M featuring layered explosive armor with fewer than 10 units built, and Brazil's Osorio, a tank that defeated competitors in trials but collapsed financially before entering production. At $6 million, sophistication accelerates with the French Leclerc, known for its hyperbaric engine and rapid autoloader allowing a three-man crew to fire on the move, followed by Israel's Merkava Mk4 Barak integrating artificial intelligence and advanced sensor fusion, while cancelled projects like America's M8 AGS and extreme prototypes such as the Soviet T-95 demonstrate ambition constrained by economics. $7 million introduces heavily protected northern designs like Sweden's STRV-122, while the M1A2 SEPV2 becomes the modern American baseline. Beyond $8 million, tanks transition from mass tools into strategic assets, including Japan's Type 90, Britain's Challenger 2TS with immense protective armor, and South Korea's K2 Black Panther with an advanced suspension system that allows it to kneel for firing positions. At $9 million and above, digitally networked warfare dominates, with platforms like the Centauro 2 AMX-56 Leclerc XLR K2PL, and Leopard 2A6 emphasizing connectivity and advanced firepower. Crossing into double-digit millions brings rebuild programs like Challenger 3, heavyweight national projects like India's Arjun Mk1A, and the M1A2 SEPV3 Abrams with next-generation power systems and depleted uranium armor. Beyond this point lie experimental futures, including the Abrams X hybrid demonstrator, private ventures like the KF-51 Panther armed with massive cannons and autonomous drones, and finally the most expensive armored package ever proposed, the Leopard 2A8, estimated at $30 million per unit, representing the absolute peak of modern armored engineering. In the end, modern tank warfare is no longer decided solely by steel and firepower. It is shaped by economics, sustainability, and the brutal reality of what nations can afford to build, replace and lose, because the true weapon defining armored conflict today is not the tank itself but its cost.